Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 is easily one of the best co-op shooters that I have played in years. If you had fun slaying Terminids with friends in Helldivers 2, then you'll likely enjoy the bloodier and arguably more epic battles against Tyranids here. Where Space Marine 2 differentiates itself from Sony's surprise hit is in its propensity for sci-fi spectacle, with lore-adorning graphical details, blood-splattering violence, and the sort of third-person action that I thought had been left behind in the PS3 era. If you're looking for sci-fi escapism that focuses on making you feel like a complete badass, then Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 is an upcoming PS5 release that you cannot miss.
I count that amongst my confirmed kills.
So sadly today I can't talk too much about the PS5-ness of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, since my recent hands-on time with the game came in the form of a PC beta build. A lot of this footage is my footage, you'll see it with the little watermarks. That is my footage, but it is being played on PC, just for transparency's sake. So while I can't really talk on console performance today, I'll have to leave that to the full review. I can talk about the content within the game itself and the core gameplay loop. Within the beta, I had access to one campaign mission and 2 co-op missions, all of which are playable in 3-player co-op. All said and done, it was roughly 2 hours of content, but as I'm recording this preview, I'm just shy of 10 hours with the game. That's a brilliant showcase for just how much fun Space Marine 2 really is. So taking to the streets of Avarax, a mission around the midpoint of its campaign, developer Saber Interactive is keen to show that Space Marine 2 is about as big and bombastic as they come. You'll constantly find reasons to stop and just take in its sci-fi laden vistas as Tyranid swarms pepper the skyline and Gothic architecture is reduced to rubble. Space Marine 2 is a graphical marvel, and the exact type of game that really could benefit from a PS5 Pro. I enjoy just walking slowly and cinematically, taking in the different environments, of which I really only got to experience 2 in this beta. Slashing and blasting my way through Tyranid hordes, I took on the role of Lieutenant Titus, a returning character from the 2011 original, along with a squad of Ultramarines. There is tension between the squad and Titus that I would have loved to have had more context towards, but jumping in at the midpoint doesn't exactly allow for that. It's not that important though, because I'm racing to protect the astropathic relay, holding out in the hope a fellow squad is able to eliminate the Hive Tyrant. Now if you think that's a lot of sci-fi goodness, then you've seen nothing yet. Each frame and sentence in Space Marine 2 has enough lore-filling details to make a psyker's head burst, and I think that's one of the most impressive parts of this game. Having very briefly looked into the Warhammer universe, I'm still reading my first book in the series. I think this does a great job of really nailing that grim, dark, sci-fi fantasy vibe that it has going for it. Everything looks like it's ancient and enormous, and everything you look at, you just feel like there is an explanation as to why it is the way it is. There's an excellent lived-in sense there that I really enjoyed with the graphical presentation. Now, all of those details are there for people that love to soak up the Warhammer 40k universe, but for a lot of people I imagine, and I was kind of included in this as well, you will really just bask in the awesomeness of it all as you hulk around in bulky armour and pop Tyranids like blood bags with your collective of gut-punching weaponry. With everything from full auto machine guns to plasma pistols and melter rifles, there's plenty of ways to dispatch the Tyranids, not least with your flesh-tearing chainsword, which never loses its appeal.
Seconds away, brother.
There's an excellent aesthetic to Space Marine 2 where everything that you're doing, it looks cool, it feels cool. And even though I wasn't playing on the PS5, with the DualSense plugged in, the haptics on the controller were really impressive actually. Now it's a little surprising how involved the moment-to-moment gameplay is. It's not just a case of holding down the trigger and calling it a day, as parries, dodges, counter shots and executions come into play. Parries and executions in particular are how you earn back armor slots, the only real way to protect your health, which doesn't regenerate outside of medkits. When things get messy, as they often do, it's thrilling to catch a Tyranid mid-leap and pulverize its skull, saving what little health you have for but a moment. Now, unlike Helldivers 2, which is about overcoming hordes as squishy, vulnerable humans, Space Marine 2 wants to fuel that power fantasy. as you rip through hundreds of Tyranids with blood splashing over your power armor. Of course, the game wouldn't be much fun if you were invincible, so to ensure that there is a threat of dying a true Astartes death, Saber Interactive has ported over its Horde technology from World War Z. Tyranids will scurry towards you in their hundreds, and while it's never quite as overwhelming as the developer's previous zombie slaying outing, you'll often find yourself entirely surrounded with nothing but a chainsword left to defend yourself. It's a thrilling sensation to empty a magazine into a pursuing horde, hoping that they run out before your bullets do. Now, upon reaching the astropathic relay, I'd slain countless Tyranids, I'd witnessed devastating destruction, I'd survived heretical Astartes, all before facing a final boss that put all of that combat knowledge to the test. This is an old school blockbuster video game here, folks, and if this is just one mission, I can't wait to see what the rest of the campaign's like. However, the campaign is just 1/3 of the Space Marine 2 offering. I didn't get to try the Eternal War PvP mode, but I did get to try out 2 of the 6 co-op missions. Teaming up with my battle brother Craig from Pure Xbox, we went boots on the ground on Kadaku, a tropical forest planet starved by metallic factory abscesses. Structurally, there isn't too much special about these missions. You get to explore cool environments, take on swarms of Tyranids, maybe protect a point, and end with a big horde survival moment or boss fight. What does add to the appeal, however, is playing with friends across different difficulty levels and how it all ties into the main story. Surprisingly, one co-op mission takes me back to Avarax, where my squad is tasked with taking out the Hive Tyrant. It's an integral but ultimately background aspect to the main campaign, but here the co-op mission is subsequently filling in the gaps, and it adds to this vision of a galaxy-spanning war effort. While I didn't have the context to the Kadaku mission, communication with Titus suggests that it will also tie into the campaign. It's a neat narrative throughline for a mode that a lot of games just aimlessly tack on. On top of this, it's a delight to fight alongside friends in bloody bouts. Space Marine 2 is filled to the brim with clip-worthy cinematic moments, whether you're just performing simultaneous executions or utilising class abilities to save a fellow battle brother from certain death. It becomes all the more fun too as you creep up the 4 available difficulty levels. By the time you reach the substantial difficulty tier, which is just the 3rd of 4, every bullet, parry and med syringe counts. It's a far gnarlier experience dependent on communication, and it really keeps you on your toes as you survive by the skin of your teeth. Upon the completion of a mission, you'll level up your chosen class and weapons. Now, there are 6 classes to choose from, all with their own skill trees, loadouts, and abilities, which range from grapple attacks to dome shields. Steadily, your character abilities and the weapons they carry will become all the more powerful, readying you for the higher difficulties. Not only that, but you'll steadily unlock and purchase cosmetic armor pieces to really make your Ultramarine your own. Now, I can already tell that people are going to craft up some delicious looking armor designs. I mean, look at Craig's here. It's so much cooler than mine's was, and I was quite happy with mine's as is. There are also a lot of different colors and emblems and armor pieces to unlock, so this will be one of those games that you can grind out if you really want to. So, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, it's a blood-speckled action extravaganza that I cannot wait to dig into upon its full PS5 release. It's the type of PS3 era madness that blends the crunchy shooting of a Gears of War with the sci-fi spectacle of the Warhammer 40K universe. It honestly reminds me of my teenage years, you know, when you find a game that's just so cool and you start obsessing over it, you're playing it into the wee small hours of the morning because you just cannot get enough of it. That's exactly the type of game that Space Marine 2 is. In terms of the co-op, it doesn't quite have the humorous side that Helldivers 2 does, but it does have that awesome edge to it. Now, I do have some concerns over how the PS5 version will run, but from a content, gameplay feel and experience standpoint, it's easily one of the most exciting games heading to PS5 in 2024. Thank you everyone for checking out my preview of Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. Let me know what you're thinking of it down in the comments below, and of course remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more PlayStation video content. Anyway, until next time, I've been Aiden, and this has been Push Square.